the title. And it's going to be quite an interesting dissertation as we go into our subject matter today, because a lot of this is time to be just talked about and shown, and common sense will show you what is true and what isn't true. It also helps if you ask Yahweh, YHVH, okay? Some people pronounce it Yahuwah. Some people pronounce it Yahweh, Yahweh. YHVH, tetragrammation, Yahweh. I'm Dr. James P. Wickstrom, P.O. Box 308, Linwood, Michigan, 48634 in the U.S. of A. My blog site is my email is drjameswickstrom@gmail.com. Send me an email. The sites that you can go to watch the dissertation presentations in their fullness is Arcodeaus, Arcodeaus on YouTube, or you can go to Arcodeaus Reloaded, 2 words, on YouTube, or you can go to Arcodeaus.com. And you can go to my blog site at www.jameswickstrom.com. It is Saturday, August 22, 2015. And before we start into our presentation, I want to remind everybody out there who's very conscious of who they are and who their Father is, the living God, YHVH, that the Feast of Tabernacles this year starts at sundown, October 8th, lasts until sundown, October 16th, and we will be celebrating it here in Michigan on the weekend of the 10th and the 11th. So you can either write me or you can send me an email if you want more information about when, how, where, and why. All right? Now, a lot of people have this wondering, and they have movies that they go see from Hollyweird, the Jewry, Edom, Esau, Hollyweird, people called Jews who control Hollywood. The movies of Christ. And they always have some swarthy, black-haired, tainted, hook-nosed, Turco-Mongolian actor acting in the place of the Christ. There is never a true individual who acts the part on a racial plane of who he is and who he was at that time. We're going to go in there today and we're going to talk with some common sense. We're going to view an article of history about him, all right? And then we're going to have a picture of him on an artist's view. That was, the artist, of course, was Italian, the description of him, and he drew the portrait, and we'll be putting that picture up, all right? So, number one that I would like to get into on this subject matter is a letter from Pontius Pilate to Tiberius Caesar. And this is a reprinting of a letter from Pontius Pilate to Tiberius Caesar describing the physical appearance of Christ. Copies are in the Congressional Library in Washington, D.C. And this is the content of the letter from Pilate to Caesar in Rome. To Tiberius Caesar. A young man appeared in Galilee, preaching with humble unction. A new law. A new law. Not a new religion, a new law, in the name of the God that had sent him. Remember, the Father always spoke in parables. He spoke in parables. All right? At first I was apprehensive that his design was to stir up the people against the Romans, but my fears were soon dispelled. Jesus of Nazareth spoke rather as a friend of the Romans, rather than a friend of the Jews. Please. One day I observed in the midst of a group of people a young man who was leaning against a tree, calmly addressing the multitude. I was told it was Christ. This I could easily have suspected, so great was the difference between him and those who were listening to him. His golden-colored hair and beard gave to his appearance of a celestial aspect. He appeared to be about 30 years of age. Never have I seen a sweeter or more serene countenance. Now remember, this information here is in the Library of Congress of the United States. Also in the National Library of Rome. What a contrast between you in detail concerning these matters. I say that such a man who could convert water into wine, change death into life, disease into health, calm the stormy seas, is not guilty of any criminal offense, and as others have said, we must agree, truly they said this is the Son of God. Now it was written that they would call him the Son of God. It is written in here that he would be called the Son of God, but he would be YHVH, the Almighty Father, Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahweh, Yahweh, in a flesh body, witnessed twice by the prophet Isaiah that a virgin will bear him, and he was in a cave outside of Bethlehem, all right, in and coming from Galilee. Why is it so important he was from Galilee? Because the Galileans were totally different racially than most at that time of the mongrelized Jerusalem. And how did they know he was from Galilee, and how did they know who the Galileans were? Because the Galileans dressed in their attire as the true ancient Hebrews, not as those of the Edom East Side Sanhedrin. Now this is very important. This is an official document in the Library of Congress of the U.S. and in the Roman Museum of History. Let's continue here. Your most obedient servant, Pontius Pilate. Okay, and then we go into, well, what did he look like? Here comes your second witness. Few people are aware there is an existence today in the archives in Rome a physical description of Yahweh of the Christ. It is contained in a report written some 2,000 years ago by a Roman, Publius Lentulus, to his emperor Tiberius, and it reads like this. There has appeared in Palestine a man who is still living and whose power is extraordinary. He has the title given to him of Great Prophet. His disciples call him the Son of God. He is a tall, well-proportioned man, and there is an air of serenity in his countenance, which at once attracts the love and reverence of those who see him. His hair is the color of new wine from the roots to the ears, and thence to the shoulders it is curled and falls down to the lowest part of them. And upon the forehead it parts in two after the manner of the Nazarenes. His forehead is flat and fair, his face without blemish or defect, adorned with a graceful expression. His nose and mouth are well proportioned. His beard is thick, and the color of his hair. His eyes are extremely lively. And in reproofs, when he goes after someone, he is terrible. But in his exhortations and instructions, amenable and courteous. There is something wonderfully charming in his face with a mixture of gravity. Though merry and joking, he is never seen to laugh, but he has been observed to weep. He is very straight in stature. His large hands are large and spreading and extremely well kept, and his arms are very beautiful. He talks little but with great quality, and is the handsomest man in the world, unquote. And what does he really look like? This is a picture of what people say is Yahweh, Yahuwah, YHVH, Yahweh, the Father who came when he was born from a virgin in a cave outside Bethlehem. I have given you a double witness here to his description, to his hair, to his looks, to his entire description. An artist, a very qualified artist in Italy, took those descriptions and like a forensic expert, he painted this picture from the description of which I have just given you. And this is YHVH. This is the living God, the picture that he came up with. The clear blue eyes, well-proportioned face, high forehead, mouth, lips, hair, golden, beard golden. And you would say, if you were to look at this individual today, you would say, there is a pure white European man.